Welcome to The Learning Curve.
A podcast about insights, inspiration and innovation in higher education. My name is Van de Poel.
My name is Sharon Klinkenberg. We are lecturers communication science at the University of Amsterdam.
And we work for the Teaching and Learning Center of the Faculty of Social and Behavioral Sciences. Hey Sharon.
Hey Van, how are you doing?
Great, because we're recording a new episode of our podcast. And today we will talk about flexible course content and how this can help you reuse and make changes to your courses. Or as you put it,
the Lego approach to course design.
Yes, exactly.
I have a lot of ideas. So let's start with the first one, with the lecture. So what I do with the lectures is I design my lectures on specific topics. So that means that of course, we're talking about statistics, so I can have a lecture design, a PowerPoint, specifically on the t-distribution. Only the t-distribution. I could have one for the one sample t-test and one for the paired sample t-test.
Yeah.
And for every specific topic, I have my content topics available. And then if you want to make a presentation, you just collect the topics that you want to present in this specific lecture. And then you compile it to one, put it all together so you have one thing.
So wait, before you continue, say I have a lecture about experiments, about the experimental method. And in my lecture, I discuss everything. So depends on the way that you teach. You might have 32, maybe 80 slides.
Yeah.
You don't have that.
No, they're not that much. Indeed. And we've talked about this in previous podcasts where you have, of course, your presentation and you have also your handout and your own lecture notes, right?
Yeah.
So I design it specifically on the content, on the specific topic that we have.
So you would have a slide deck about manipulation materials, a slide deck about randomization, a slide deck about sampling, a slide deck about factorial designs.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and then you decide what needs to be discussed.
And then you put it together. Yeah.
Okay.
So you do present it in one presentation, of course. But the content that you create, they should be Lego blocks.
Yeah.
So you can reuse it in different settings and scenarios.
Yeah.
So I have one folder which is called topics, where I have the topics set out, and a different folder for the course. Course name and year, and there I put the combinations of the topics that I want to use.
Yeah.
So you separate your content from the course that you're going to give. So
this sounds really interesting, and I think that would be really nice. But how is that exactly going to help me with, for example, the new edition of a book?
Yeah, so your new edition, if everything is okay, it's connected to your learning goals, right?
Yeah.
And you have the learning goals also connected to the topics that you are going to teach. So if you want to make changes in the order, for example, that you present your lectures, then it's easier to create the content from that.
Yeah.
The second thing, of course, is, and that's related, if you do a Lego approach, if you refer in your lectures, in your presentation to specific chapters, then it breaks.
Yeah.
So my advice would be to restrain from referring to specific chapters in the book. Just refer to the chapter on ANOVA, for example.
Yeah.
And then as a student, well, you have the book, you can read where the chapter for ANOVA is. You don't have to specify where to click or where to open the book on which page number.
Yeah.
It's not relevant. The students can do this.
Yeah, so in a broader, we are talking about methods and statistics now and a book, but if you think on different courses, especially theory courses where you want to actually update your literature more often than you would update a statistics book, for example, instead of referring to specific articles, you are referring to topics, right?
Exactly.
And then you have small slide decks where then it's more easy to make some changes. Because I know that in theory courses, it's also difficult. If you want to update all the literature, it feels like a huge burden because you feel like you need to change everything again.
Yes, indeed,
but if you create small blocks, then you might not even have to change everything. You decide, okay, these Lego blocks that's what I'm changing this year.
And you could also have a Lego block for the example, right? So you can use an example in your lecture which has the Lego block example. And you can change that example to a new one if you want to change it. But it's only the Lego block that you have to change and the rest you can keep the same.
Yeah, exactly. So then you would have a folder with examples. Say you have theory of planned behavior, for example, and then you have a folder example, theory of planned behavior, and you can add to that, and you just have to pick out those 2-3 slides and put them in your presentation.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And while you were saying that, I was thinking, if you have a folder with examples, then you can also use those examples in exam materials, because you have multiple examples of the same topics, and that's always what we do in exams, right? We don't want to ask the same thing that we covered in the lecture, but something else. So if you have a large list of examples that you can use, then you can vary these also for the exams.
Yeah, because we've been talking now about lectures, but this is, of course, you are talking about a Lego approach to building your course, right? So your whole course, you envision it as this big Lego castle, and you have all these small bricks, which are lectures, tutorial meetings, assignments, etc., whatever you use. And you have all of these, and you are just going to see how they fit together. But you make sure, if I am understanding you correctly, that they're all small, so that it's easy to swap them for something else. Indeed. For example, what if there's all of a sudden you decide to go into a completely new direction with a different book, and the topics are discussed in a very different order. Yeah. Because you have these little bricks, it's easy to shuffle them.
Indeed. So this also applies to, not just to the lectures indeed, but also to the way that you set up your modules in Canvas, for example. You can set up the modules in terms of what are we covering this week, but the content inside of that week, you can take from your topic library, for example, and just put those in there. So if you design it in a Lego structure, if you design it on the topics that you connect, of course, to your learning goals, then you can just shove them in and redo it. Yeah. And that holds for the structure of your Canvas course. But it also holds for the exams. You could also make exam questions or set up your item bank if you do this for assessment, where you can structure it on the topics and you have questions per topic on the specific learning goals, and then you can just pick and choose what you want to use.
Yeah, I think people are already doing that, but then, for example, only for the exam, right? And not for the full course. But if you start designing your course or redesigning, and you start from scratch, just creating folders on your laptop already, right? Saying topics, and exam, and tutorial meetings and lectures. Yep. And then from the topics and the learning goals, basically you have your learning goals, you decide which topics, what kind of skills students need for that, etc. And that's how you are going to organize
your content creation. Yeah. And preferably you could also share those. So, for example, this what I told you. I go to this extreme in this. So I make my lectures and I put them on the public domain just in GitHub. So I have my course content in there, and so you can go in there and copy my complete repository, and then you have all my slides and lectures and the topics.
I wish I knew that when I started teaching. Yeah.
No, could you see yourself using such an approach?
The Lego approach? Yeah, I think it makes total sense. And it would give me a better overview, and it also would feel, especially in terms of lecture preparation, preparing small blocks and then combining them in one slide deck is less energy draining. It's not less time consuming, of course, I think. When you're preparing everything, but it's less energy draining. It's not like I have this full presentation that I need to make now or that I need to give. It helps you also in terms of structure, small blocks that you're teaching in, which immediately also triggers for me the idea that students, of course, can't listen to you for 2 hours on one topic. Mm-hmm. So
that's true.
Already by having these Lego blocks, it also encourages you to create interactive elements, for example, after every Lego block and in your lecture. So it kind of structures your lecture in a better way as well.
Indeed. And so you can interweave it with content and then with an example or with some interactive activities that you do in the classroom.
Yeah. But I also, I'm very visual, and so I now see the course as a big Lego. Like I see all these Lego blocks in front of me now, and it helps me to kind of go out of the box and start shuffling. and not seeing an issue with that. So starting to see my course in a different way, where we always do it the same way, always in this order, and can't make any changes there, because then everything changes. You know, it's kind of a domino effect.
Yeah.
But if you have these separate elements, being flexible on topic specific, then it's easier to shuffle around and say, okay, next year I want this lecture here with this topic. And it's not going to be that difficult, because that small part of the Lego brick, not a full lecture maybe, but that small part I can take forward and then swap it with something else.
Indeed.
And because the tutorial is also based on Lego bricks, I only have to take out that Lego brick and not change the complete.
Awesome.
Yeah, you see the penny drop here?
yeah.
You could almost hear it.
Yeah, and it's also for your blended learning approach. So if you create content for your course, knowledge clips, videos, YouTube, whatever. I've seen a few courses, and I'm redesigning my own course now, where some of the videos that are made are so incredibly specific to this course, referring to the chapters, referring to the title of the course. All these referrals make this video not really suited in a different place in the course. So the Lego approach really is a mindset on the creator part of you when you're creating your content. So the videos that I make, it's on the topic. I'm not referring to anything else in the course. So if you look up a video of mine about the 1 or 2-sided testing, for example, it's only on the 1 and 2-sided testing, and you can put that video somewhere else if you want.
Yeah, so if you decide next year, okay, this was too early for students and they need to first learn about this, I'm going to take out this topic here and I'm going to place it somewhere else. And that's going to be easy, because it's just one brick, just one small element, and not everything changes.
Because what I've also seen with a few of these courses, that it's so well designed sometimes.
Too well designed.
That is essentially too well designed, because it's in the same layout with the same voice on every video. And if you put yourself up to that standard, the moment you want to change something, you're like, oh, if I don't have that video now I need to remake it because it's not in the same style. And you should just throw that overboard. It's about the content. Make sure that fits at the appropriate time. And if it's not really in the same branding, for that matter, I think that's okay.
But that also means that you don't have to do it yourself all the time. So you can use these open educational sources where other people from other universities give a lecture on a certain theory or a specific statistical method. When the topic fits as a Lego brick in that part of your course, you and when the person does it in a kind of comprehensible way, and then you can use that.
I once referred to this as you as the course designer being the curator of your course. And you're cherry picking the content from the internet, from YouTube, where you as a teacher know this fits really well. And then you cherry pick that, put that as an embedded into your course, and then you design around this. So indeed, you don't have to do everything yourself, but you do need to allow yourself the flexibility and how would you say that? It doesn't have to be that refined in the sense that everything has to be on brand. It's just, it's about the content. So if you can find content that fits that topic, then that's great. So you need to focus on the content. And of course, we've been talking a lot about the format as well, right, in our previous episodes. But here we mean that the content is linked to your learning objectives, and that's what you're worried about. And just like you would pick a book, for example, or an academic article, you could also choose a video, even if it's a teacher that doesn't even work here. But if it's open source and that person brilliantly explains what you want to teach your students, then even if it's not in the same style as your own course, you put it in there, right? But that also means that these materials that you find online should be this Lego brick style as well, and not Playmobil, right? We can all make our materials open source, but if we refer to our own books and our own course, etc., then if you do that, I'm not going to implement your video in my course because students will be confused. Exactly. And you have some grip on the way that you can integrate it into your course, right? So if you on Canvas, you just say, watch this video, and you put a link in there and it goes out to YouTube and you can watch the video. That's less integration than that you choose to embed it in your course. On your on your Canvas space. You can just embed it on your page, but you could also say, well, I have an assessment, a quiz, and you could also do the embedding in the quiz itself. And then it's in the flow of your instructions and your testing, where you can watch this video and then ask a question about the video, for example. And that feels more integrated than follow a link and then find it somewhere else.
But the idea is just to come back to what because now we're talking a little bit about blended learning and videos, but to come back to what we started, we should see our course as a Lego project, basically. It's not Playmobil, which is more sturdy and already fixed, right? You can't really build it. You can play around with it, but not build it. So you should be able to build this castle, which is your course, but also easily take it apart again.
Indeed.
And rebuild it in a different shape.
Yes.
Right?
The Lego approach to course design.
Perfect.
Yeah? You're going to try it?
I'm going to try it.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Learning Curve.
Produced by the Teaching and Learning Center of the Faculty of Social and Behavioral Sciences at the University of Amsterdam.
Our music was provided by Peter van Dijk.
For more information, find us wherever you get your podcasts.